Why do people get hostile and offended when asked to show proof of vaccination or mask exemption? I have a completely different theory to most people here. It's that when people get caught knowingly doing the wrong thing, they tend to get aggressive and angry. Exactly the same thing happens when my staff catch shoplifters. They get angry as if it's our fault. Psychologically, getting angry is a method for trying to drive the other person away and also to convince themselves that they are in the right. If you think about stereotypical Karens, often the manager will give them what they want in order to avoid the tantrums. I think it's the same psychology. They're hoping that by getting angry they will cause you to back off. And they can delude themselves that they are in the right. Any arguments that they bring up are red herrings. They are just trying to convince you and themselves that they are in the right. This happened to a friend in our dental office. A patient was extremely dodgy about giving us their paperwork to show they are exempt from wearing a mask and was extremely aggressive and rude to all the staff. We were fine with her exemption but just needed to see her paperwork to verify the information, and it took a long while to convince her to show it to us. Turns out it was a letter written by a reflexologist who was 100% not a doctor. Lots of disingenuous answers here. But the answer is they're frustrated by what they perceive as government overreach. My experience so far is people pretend they have respiratory problems that mean they can't wear a mask. Surely any doctor treating someone with respiratory problems would insist they protect their airways, not give them an exemption. That's because they are lying laughing face. Working in a mall cafeteria was a nightmare last year. I'm from Asia and I recently realized how COVID made the East-West divide even more pronounced. Where I'm from, it's normal for us to show proof of vaccination and wear masks at all times in public spaces. There are many reasons why someone who legitimately has an exemption could get angry or defensive over the question. They could be getting upset that you're asking for their medical information, which is private information that they legally don't have to share. They could be getting offended at a question that is basically a variation of "papers, please." Or they could just be tired of all this shit and want to get back to their lives without their every movement being scrutinized. Of course, there are also the people that don't actually have an exemption too. And they're probably getting defensive for that reason. But just because someone is getting defensive or offended doesn't mean they don't actually have an exemption. Why do people get offended at showing ID to vote? When people get hostile or defensive, the first thing I think is that they're illegal and don't actually have a right to vote. And your first thought is right. Otherwise they wouldn't be putting up a stink about it. Everyone is just tired of this COVID crap and the craziness it's brought out in people. If you're not doing anything wrong, why can't the police just enter your home whenever? Mostly because they think their rights are being violated by the government while they demand the government do something to fix it. Because it's dumb. And the beginning of a society no one wants to live in. Don't confront people who are minding their own business. I dislike that I am sharing what is essentially health information all over town. I hate giving up my anonymity of customer at table 10 for a passport and ID. We have an app scanner that verifies the authenticity of the passport. They say they aren't tracking the info. I have suspicions. At the end of the day, I am pro-science and vaccinations. If we had seen better take-up of vaccinations early, maybe these mandates wouldn't have been needed. But here we are now. I relent at this point. No use being an asshole to the 17-year-old greeter and passport checker. Where TF do you need an exemption to not wear a mask? I can't speak on places like planes, hospitals, or grocery stores, but I work in a restaurant and I've seen some people get annoyed by our rules. Mandated rules. And I kind of get why. Let me preface this by saying, I think everyone should be vaxxed and wear a mask whenever possible. I am triple vaxxed and wear a mask while running in and out of a hot kitchen and working doubles. It's not that hard. But the rule where I live is you have to have a mask to enter. But once you're at a table, the bar, you can take it off. Even if you're unvaccinated. There's approximately 10 steps between the entrance and the bar. If someone is wearing a mask in that time, essentially makes no difference at all. People who've forgotten their masks or just don't want to put it on don't see the point of us not letting them in. Because there's no point in us not letting them in. If my county really cared about the spread of COVID inside bars, then bars wouldn't be open. It's 100% optics. But they won't pay people to stay home and not run restaurants and bars. So they make up these rules that put the onus of stopping the spread on the employees. It moves the anger of the unmasked person from their local politician to the 17-year-old hostess, who won't let them inside the restaurant. I would honestly prefer they just drop the mandate than do this wishy-washy, let's get back to normal safely shit. It's not safe. But unfortunately my $1,400 in stimulus has not lasted 2 years, so I need to be working. And if I need to be working, I don't want to be the front line against anti-mask activists. I signed up to take orders and make drinks, not enforce a controversial law. I've been in the service industry for almost a decade and I've never made less money and dealt with as many awful customers as I have in the last few months. Sorry for the rant. Definitely got off topic. But it's been so frustrating trying to get people to follow the rules when the rules are visibly inconsistent and pointless. Because this new normal is repulsive. It still feels like an Alfred Hitchcock spin on a Twilight Zone episode. Well, asking any medical information outside the doctor's office was illegal before the pandemic under all circumstances. You can't expect that people will be automatically happy when they change that day to night. Or they just don't have it. Or they are just tired of this whole thing. Because some people have decided it's political. And that playing devil's advocate against service employees is preferable to being a good community member. We show proof of personal information every time we enter a bar, and no one's freaking out about a slippery slope to a show me your paper society in that case. We do this at airports, age-limited movies, strip clubs, etc. We even have to prove vaccination status multiple times throughout our lives to enroll in each successive level of schooling. All of these situations are ones in which society net benefits from restricting certain actions by members who can't prove they're able to safely participate. And COVID is really no different. People will always find something to be oppositional about. It's just unfortunate that this time it's for a simple action that would help us get back to the normal that many of these same people are demanding. Personally, I prefer to go to places that require proof of vax and masks. Because once I'm in there, my local independent theater, for example, I actually feel safe and can relax because I know that I and those around me have very little chance of getting sick and hospitalized, even if someone does have a breakthrough case. To me, that peace of mind by proving I'm protecting my community is preferred to having to just assume everyone around me is unvaccinated.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.